Namaste and welcome to Daily News Simplified, the what, why and how of newspaper reading. Today we would be analyzing the Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper of 14th June 2018. Now let us begin. Now we've taken this article from page 13. Now what this article talks about is that the Union Cabinet has approved the proposal for the introduction of the Dam Safety Bill of 2018 in the Parliament of India. Now with regards to this article, what we'll do is first understand as to what is the purpose of the Dam Safety Bill of 2018, what are its basic features, and moreover also understand as to what are the features of the National Dam Safety Authority that is being established under this bill. So now let us first understand as to what is the purpose of the Dam Safety Bill of 2018. Now the bill intends to help all states and union territories to adopt uniform dam safety procedures. Now these dam safety procedures are there to ensure the safety of dams and also to safeguard human life, livestock and property. Now under this uniform safety procedures, it would include firstly regular inspection of dams. The second safety procedure it would include is of emergency action plans. The third safety procedure would be of comprehensive dam safety review. The fourth safety procedure it would include would be a fund for repair and maintenance. And the fifth and the final uniform safety procedure that would be implemented under the Dam Safety Bill of 2018 so as to help all states and union territories would be of instrumentation and safety manuals. Now hopefully up till here you've understood the purpose of the Dam Safety Bill of 2018, wherein this bill intends to help all states and union territories to adopt uniform dam safety procedures, wherein firstly these uniform dam safety procedures would include regular inspection of dams, secondly emergency action plans, thirdly, comprehensive dam safety review. Fourthly, a fund for the repair and maintenance of the dam. And lastly, an instrumentation and safety manuals for every specific dam. Now let us understand the main features of this bill. Wherein this bill intends for the formation of a National Committee on Dam Safety. Wherein the main objective of the National Committee on Dam Safety would be to evolve dam safety policies and recommend necessary regulations on dam safety. The second main feature of the Dam Safety Bill of 2018 is the formation of the National Dam Safety Authority. Now the main function of the National Dam Safety Authority would be that it would be a regulatory body to discharge the functions in implementing the policy, guidelines and standards for dam safety in India. Now the third feature of this bill is the formation of a State Committee on Dam Safety. And similarly, there would also be a formation of a State Dam Safety Organization. Now both the State Committee on Dam Safety and the State Dam Safety Organization would be formed by the state government. And lastly, one of the main features of the Dam Safety Bill of 2018 is that the onus of dam safety lies with the dam owner. Now hopefully up till here you also understood the main features of the Dam Safety Bill of 2018, wherein it would lead to the formation of a National Committee on Dam Safety. And this National Committee on Dam Safety would evolve dam safety policies and recommend necessary regulations on dam safety. Moreover, the bill also leads to the formation of a National Dam Safety Authority, which would be a regulatory body which would discharge functions in implementing the policies, guidelines, standards for dam safety in India. And in similar terms, there would also be a formation of a State Committee on Dam Safety and a State Dam Safety Organization. However, both of these would be formed by the state government. And lastly, the main feature of the Dam Safety Bill of 2018 is that the onus of dam safety lies with the dam owner. Now you have to understand that the Dam Safety Bill of 2018 has been approved by the Union Cabinet and is to be introduced in the Parliament of India. And now with regards to your UPSC syllabus, now as I've previously said, after reading any article in any newspaper or magazine, try to ensure as to which part of the UPSC syllabus that article would belong to, wherein this article talks about various different aspects such as the Dam Safety Bill of 2018, National Dam Safety Authority, with the main theme of dam safety, when the Dam Safety Bill of 2018 and the National Dam Safety Authority would be placed in GS Paper 2, when the National Dam Safety Bill of 2018 would be placed in the subsection Government Policies and Interventions for Development in Various Sectors and Issues Arising Out of Their Design and Implementation, which is a regulatory body and therefore would be placed in the subsection Regulatory Bodies. And similarly, the theme of dam safety would be placed in GS Paper 3 within the section Disaster Management. And moreover, it would also be placed in the sections Infrastructure, which includes dam. Now, after understanding as to which part of the syllabus the article belongs to, try to understand the previous year questions that have been asked on that similar format, wherein a question on disaster management was asked in GS Paper 3 in 2016, which had asked with reference to the National Disaster Management Authority guidelines, discuss the measures to be adopted to mitigate the impact of the recent incidents of cloudbursts in many places of Uttarakhand. Now, in similar terms, a question for your practice with reference to Dam Safety Bill of 2018 discuss the measures being adopted to ensure legal and institutional architecture for dam safety in India. And with the explanation given in this section, you would be able to answer this question within 200 to 250 words. And so now with this, we move on to the next article. Now we have taken this article from page 10. Now what this article provides are the reasons for the disempowerment and the depoliticization of urban local government, wherein this article elaborates on municipal governance in India in the context of the completion of 3 years of the Smart Cities Mission project of the Government of India, wherein according to the author, the 73rd Amendment, which mandated the creation of panchayats, and the 74th Amendment, which mandated the creation of municipalities, has had an implementation failure, wherein according to the author, the urban local governments are actively disempowered and depoliticized as an institution in India. Now let us understand the reasons given by the author for what he considers has caused the disempowerment of local municipal governance in India. Now the first reason given by the author for the disempowerment of urban local government in India is that mayors have been rendered as a ceremonial head in most of the municipal corporations. Now the reasons the mayors have been rendered as ceremonial head in most municipal corporations is because the executive powers of the corporation are vested with the municipal commissioner who is appointed by the state government, and therefore the elected representatives at the city level are rendered powerless by making them subservient to the state government. The second reason given by the author is that multiple agencies and authorities have been created by the state government, and these multiple agencies and authorities that have been created have officers who are also appointed by the state government, and therefore it reduces the political authority of the elected representatives of the municipalities in local governance. So, on issues such as infrastructure, land use regulation, different services such as water, electricity, transport, the state governments have created multiple agencies or authorities in city levels. Now, these issues should have been functions of municipalities, but these functions and responsibilities of local government have been vested by the state government to city level bureaucrats such as municipal commissioners. Now, the third reason given by the author for the disempowerment of urban local government in India is that several urban development schemes of the central government have mandated for the creation of separate authorities from the urban local bodies. Now, for this, the author has given the example of the Smart Cities Mission, wherein the Smart Cities Mission mandates the creation of a special purpose vehicle which would have operational independence and autonomy in decision making and mission implementation. And moreover, the Smart Cities Mission further encourages the state government to delegate the decision making powers available to the urban local bodies to the Chief Executive Officer of the SPV. And because of provisions such as of the Smart Cities Mission, which mandates for the creation of a special purpose vehicle with its own Chief Executive Officer, further delegates functions and responsibilities that should have been of urban local bodies to different separate authorities under the state government. Now, the fourth reason highlighted by the author is that several main functions of municipalities require permission from the state government. Now, functions such as levying taxes, city-based projects, among other functions on which the urban local government should have had autonomy, require permission from the state government. And because of this, it reduces the autonomy, the independence, and the functioning power of urban local bodies. Now, the fifth reason highlighted by the author is that the functions listed in the 12th schedule, which a state government is expected to devolve to the local government, do not include essential civic issues such as urban transport, urban housing, among other. So according to the author, essential civic issues of urban governance such as urban transportation, urban housing are not functions listed in the 12th schedule which a state government is expected to devolve to the local government. And since these functions are not listed in the 12th schedule, it limits the power of the urban local government. Now, the sixth reason highlighted by the author is that the 74th Amendment, which mandated the creation of municipalities, provides for an exception that municipalities need not be constituted in areas that have been declared as industrial townships. Wherein, according to the author, this exception further reduces the reach of the urban local government. Now, the seventh and the final reason given by the author for the disempowerment of urban local government in India is that state leaders have disempowered local government so that they can ensure that no city level leader threatens their political control over the city. Now, the seventh reason is the political reason given by the author, wherein state leaders who want to ensure that their political power remains intact and to ensure that no city level elected representative threatens their political control over the city have significantly reduced the power of urban local government. And moreover, such leaders in state government also have no incentive to further empower local government. So now hopefully up till here you've understood the seven reasons given by the author which has led to the disempowerment of urban local government in India. Now with regards to your UPSC syllabus, within this section which gives the reasons for disempowerment of urban local government in India would be placed in GS paper 2 within the subsection devolution of power and finances up to local levels and challenges therein. Wherein previously a question has been asked in your UPSC mains examination which was asked in GS paper 2 in 2017, which has said that the local self-government system in India has not proved to be an effective instrument of governance. Critically examine the statement and give your views to improve the situation. Now this section gives the reason on how the local self-government system in India has not proved to be an effective instrument of governance. However, the article does not provide the critical examination of these reasons or means to improve the situation. However, the article and the explanation given in this section provides you a comprehensive view on how the local self-government system in India has not proved to be an effective instrument of governance. And one way you can practice further is to critically examine these seven statements, and further you can also give reasons on how these seven problems can be rectified. And so now with this, we move on to the next article. Now we have taken this article from page 11. Now what this article talks about is that the central government has revived the idea of setting up an asset management company. Now this would be similar to the idea of the bad bank that was first given by the chief economic advisor Arvind Subramanian in January of 2017. Now the question is, what is meant by a bad bank? Now the economic survey of 2016-17 had called for the formation of a public sector asset rehabilitation agency called PARA. Now this agency would have taken on the public sector banks' bad loans and focus on their resolution. So a bad bank would have been in the form of an asset management company that would take the bad loans that have been taken by the public sector banks and then focus on the resolution of these bad loans. Now the third aspect given the FAQ of the article is how will the bad bank help with the NPA or the non-performing asset problem. Now before moving forward, you should first understand as to what is an NPA. Now NPA is a loan or an advance on which the borrower or the person or the company who has taken the loan has failed to repay the principal or the interest for a period of 90 days. And the bad bank is intended to solve this NPA problem. And the public sector banks in India now have a huge problem of these non-performing assets. Now the bad bank is intended to help with an NPA problem because it would then shift those loans which are under stress to this bad bank. Now because those loans which are under stress that have been taken by the public sector banks would then be shifted to the bad bank. And after such stressed loans have been taken away from the public sector banks, it would improve their financial position. Since it would improve the quality of the bank's asset, it would also improve their capital position and also reduce the chances of the insolvency of the public sector bank. And apart from this, by shifting the stressed loan to a bad bank, and would also allow them to provide fresh credit for fresh investment and economic activity. Now the next aspect given in the article is how will such a bad bank be capitalized, since this bad bank would require a significant amount of capital to purchase the stressed loan accounts from the public sector banks, wherein the current non-performing assets which are lying with the public sector bank is above 10 lakh crore. And because of this, the bad bank would require a significant amount of capital to purchase 10 lakh crore worth of stressed loans. And moreover, the chances of private participation in the bad bank is also very low. And therefore, this means that the government of India, which is already committed to recapitalizing the state-run banks, would become the single largest contributor of capital to the bad bank. And so the burden of capitalization of the bad bank would then fall onto the government of India. So now hopefully up till here you understood as to what is a bad bank and how this bad bank is intended to solve the NPA problem. And apart from this, you also understand the challenges required in capitalization of such a bad bank. Now a question for your practice. is which of the following constitute stressed assets? Now you have to understand that this question is intended to test the conceptual understanding of stressed assets, wherein non-performing assets, which are a loan or an advance for which the borrower has failed to repay the principal or interest for a period of 90 days, is a part of the stressed asset. A restructured asset or a loan is that asset which has gotten an extended payment period, reduced interest rate, converting a part of the loan into equity, or other form of this combination. And therefore, a restructured asset is part of a bad loan or a non-performing asset which has been modified into a new loan. And restructured assets are part of stressed assets. While a write-off is the removal of an asset or a liability from the accounting records or the financial statements of a company, and written off assets are also part of stressed assets. And therefore, the correct answer for this question would be 1, 2, and 3. So now hopefully you've also gotten a conceptual understanding of what are stressed assets. And so now with this, let us move on to the next article. Now we have taken this article from page 15. Now what this article talks about is that India and China are discussing to form an oil buyers club. Now the reason India and China are discussing to form an oil buyers club is that so they can negotiate better with oil selling countries. The second reason is that they want to end the dominance of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries or OPEC. Now the reason India and China want to end the dominance of OPEC is to reduce OPEC's ability to raise oil prices. Now you have to understand that OPEC or the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries is a form of cartelization wherein if the global crude oil prices decrease heavily, the OPEC countries reduce their output, and because of the normal laws of demand and supply, as soon as the OPEC countries reduce the supply of crude oil to the international markets, the price of crude oil goes up. And India and China, through the Oil Buyers Club, want to reduce this ability of OPEC to raise oil prices. Now, the third reason as to why India and China are discussing to form an oil buyers club is to take up the issue of the Asian premium. Now, Asian premium is something we'll discuss further in depth later in this section. So now hopefully up till here you understood the focus of this article, wherein India and China are discussing to form an oil buyers club, wherein the first reason as to why India and China intend to form such a club is so that they can negotiate better with the oil selling companies, wherein they intend to have a collective bargaining power so that they can negotiate a better price for purchasing crude oil. The second reason is that India and China intend to end the dominance of OPEC. Now, OPEC is an oil based cartel, wherein if the global crude oil prices reduce in the international market, the OPEC member countries would reduce their supply of crude oil to the international market. And because of the simple law of demand and supply, by reducing the supply to the international market, the OPEC countries increase the price of the global crude oil. And it is this ability of OPEC to raise oil prices that both India and China want to reduce. And the final reason for India and China to discuss forming an oil buyers club is to take up the issue of the Asian premium. Now you have to understand that this news is currently in transition, and therefore we'll have to wait and see on how this initiative of an oil buyers club moves forward with India and China. So now let us understand as to what is an Asian premium. Now, Asia is far more dependent on oil imports from the Middle East, particularly the countries of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, among others, while European countries can also source their oil from West Africa, Latin American countries such as Venezuela, Russia, among others. And because of this dependence of Asian countries on the Middle East, it is widely believed that Asian customers or Asian countries have been paying extra for importing crude oil from the Middle East as compared to the US or the European countries. Now, according to several reports, Asian countries have been paying roughly around $1 higher than European countries. And this is because Asian countries are more dependent on oil from the Middle East. And because European countries have much more suppliers, such as from Latin America, West Africa, they're able to negotiate for a better price from the Middle East countries. And this extra price that the Asian countries pay is known as the Asian premium. Now, questions have been asked in your UPSC prelims examination, such as broad-based trade and investment agreement is sometimes seen in the news. The term domestic content requirement is sometimes seen in the news. Or the term digital single market strategy is sometimes seen in the news. And similarly, a question can be asked as that the term Asian premium is sometimes seen in the news. And the question can be as to what does it refer to. Now with this, we move on to the next article. Now we have taken this article from page 10. Now the focus of this article is that the editorial provides a critical appraisal on the government's approach towards renewable energy targets in India, wherein India has set a target of 175 gigawatts of renewable energy and it intends to form this capacity by 2022. But the editorial has highlighted that India has missed several of the milestones to achieve the target of 175 gigawatts by 2022, wherein according to the article, India has only been able to install 69 gigawatts in the year of 2016-17, and therefore to hit the target of 175 gigawatts by 2022, India would need to add 106 gigawatts in 4 years, which is more than twice the capacity of what India has added in the last 4 years. So what the author is trying to show in the editorial is that India's target of achieving 175 gigawatts by 2022 seems like a difficult task because we have not been able to install the required capacity on an year-on-year basis. Now the author has also highlighted the challenges according to which India has not been able to achieve its target on a year-on-year basis, wherein the first challenge according to the author is of a technological nature, wherein solar and wind energy are not continuous in nature, since both solar and wind energy are dependent on their sources, which is sunlight for solar energy and wind speed for wind energy. And because of this, the existing grid system in India, so as to distribute such power which has been produced through solar and wind energy in an efficient manner to the consumers. The second challenge highlighted by the author is of financial nature, wherein wind and solar tariffs has hit very low in the domestic market, and due to this, the suppliers are working on very thin margins. And because of thin margins in wind and solar tariffs, it makes their suppliers vulnerable to economic shocks. And because of this, new players have been reluctant to enter into this market, and for the existing players to expand their bases. Now, the author also highlights issues with regards to the solar energy sector, wherein the manufacturers of the photovoltaic cells have demanded a 70% safeguard duty on Chinese photovoltaic imports. However, the Director General of Trade Remedies or DGTR is expected to take a decision on this demand of the local photovoltaic manufacturers in India. However, if the DGTR does accept the demand of a 70% or any form of safeguard duty on Chinese photovoltaic imports, it would cause a very strong blow to the solar power suppliers in India because they rely heavily on this cheap Chinese hardware to increase their profit margins. And if such a safeguard duty is imposed on Chinese PV imports, it would threaten the growth of the solar power sector. So, this issue between the manufacturers of photovoltaic cells in India and the consumers of photovoltaic cells in India is yet to be seen on how the Government of India, or in specifically the Director General of Trade Remedies, intends to solve. Now, the final challenge highlighted in this article is with regards to the rooftop segment within the solar sector. Now, as per the goals of the Government of India of having 100 gigawatt from solar energy by 2022, 40 gigawatt has to come from rooftop installations. However, homeowners in India aren't very enthusiastic about installing rooftop solar cells. Now, the reason given by the author is that it is very uneconomic, in the sense it does not provide any form of monetary benefit to the homeowners of installing rooftop solar segments. And this is because homeowners typically need less power and will not use everything that they generate. So, with regards to this, the author in the editorial has given the suggestion of a net metering policy through which the homeowners who have installed a rooftop segment of solar power energy would be able to sell the excessive electricity that they have produced back to the national grid. However, according to the author, only a few states in India currently have such policies. So now hopefully up till here you've understood the focus of this article and you understand the challenges that are there in front of India to achieve the 175 gigawatt target that India requires to achieve to fulfill its greenhouse gas emission goal under the Paris Climate Agreement. Now previously similar questions have been asked in your UPSC prelims and your mains examination, wherein the question on net metering was asked in the prelims of 2016, wherein this question was asked in GS paper 3 in the year 2015, which had asked to what factors can the recent dramatic fall in equipment costs and tariffs of solar energy be attributed, and what implications does the trend have for the thermal power producers and the related industry. And in similar terms, a question on what are the challenges to India's ability to achieve its target of 175 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity by 2022, you would be able to answer with the explanation given in this article And within this section. And now with this, we come to an end in the analysis of today's paper. Now we move on to the question for today.